The night my daughter told me my money belonged to her, the house went silent like it knew a secret I didn't. By morning, I could taste sawdust in the air again, the taste of the life I built with 2 hands and wouldn't let anyone sign away. I've been waking up before the sun since I was 15. It's muscle memory at this point. Coffee, prayer, and the slow walk through a garage that smells like cedar and glue. My name is Edward Walker, Ed to everyone who knows me, and I've made a living shaping wood into things that outlast arguments and seasons. Tables that hold Thanksgiving fights and baby showers. Bookcases that keep a family's secrets. Phoenix is home. To the north, Camelback looks like a sleeping animal. To the west, the desert keeps its distance and its heat. My wife, Lena, died 5 years ago. That sentence feels like a bruise that never fades. We had 2 kids. Jason, our quiet, stubborn boy who fixes everything except his own tendency to carry the world. And Melissa, the kid who sprinted into every room like it owed her applause. I always figured I loved them in different ways, not more or less, just different. We weren't fancy, but we were honest. We pinched pennies to get them through school. I sold my best suit once to make a tuition payment, ate beans and rice and smiled doing it. That's how we did it. After Lena got sick, I spent every dollar I could find. It didn't buy me time. It bought me sleep at night. I tried. I can live with that. For a while, life found a groove. I'd sweep the shop, fix a neighbor's porch rail, grab coffee with the old guys at the corner diner off 19th Avenue. Every day looked eerily like the last. Then Melissa started dropping by more often. She brought muffins from a place where they spell coffee with a Y. She asked about my blood pressure and my knees. She'd walk through the house like a realtor sizing up square footage. "Dad, you have all your documents in order, right?" she'd ask. Like the house, the account logins, power of attorney. It's better to be prepared, just in case. Just in case. Those words started buzzing like a fly I couldn't swat. One morning, she showed up at 7 a.m. with a folder and that smile adult kids wear when they think they're being kind, but they're really bulldozing. "I brought paperwork," she said, breezy. "This will protect you. If something happens, it lets me handle bills and medical stuff. It's called a durable power of attorney. Everyone does it. I'll keep you safe." I can still see her tapping the signature lines with a rose gold pen. I can still hear my own voice saying, "I trust you," and my own hand, traitor that it is, moving on autopilot. She hugged me, told me I was making a smart choice, and left. The folder sat on the table like an animal that had already bitten. 2 days later, I went to the bank on Thomas Road to grab cash for a truckload of lumber. The teller stared at her screen, frowned, typed harder. "Mr. Walker, are you sure about the account number?" "I've had it 20 years, I said. She stepped away, came back with a manager. "Sir," he said gently, "your account was closed 3 days ago. Funds were transferred to an authorized party, Ms. Melissa Hart." All the air left the room. "How much?" I heard myself ask, like I was underwater. $68,412, he said. "You signed authority over. It's legally valid." I walked home. I didn't see the cracked sidewalk or hear the leaf blowers. I just kept looking at my hands. The same ones that built cribs and caskets had just signed away a lifetime of careful. Melissa came by that evening in a white SUV that hummed like a rich person's secret. I asked her why. She sat on the couch Lena and I bought at a clearance sale and crossed her legs like a CEO. "Dad," she said, with that cool patience that curdles into condescension, "you worked your whole life, but the money isn't safe in your hands anymore. It's better this way. I'll manage it. And the house? We should sell. It's too big for you. I found a lovely community. Sunrise at Arcadia. It's perfect. You'll make friends. You won't be alone." "I'm not alone," I said. "I have neighbors. I have this shop. I have Lena's ghosts." She shrugged. "You'll thank me later." "Give it back," I said. "All of it." Her smile cooled. "That's not how this works anymore, Dad. You signed everything over. There are sentences that cut you in half. That one did. The other half of me kept breathing, stubborn as an old nail. When she left, after telling me moving day would be in 2 weeks, after patting my shoulder like I was a confused customer, Lena's photo on the mantel caught a sliver of sunset and glowed. I could almost hear her. "Don't you dare." That night, I sat at the kitchen table until the world outside went dark and came back again. I thought about every lunch I packed, every overtime I worked, every time I told myself the truth, the one where love means giving. I thought about what it means when love starts taking instead. In the morning, I called Frank Dalton. Frank's the kind of friend you get for keeps. We ran crews together years back. He did 20 with the sheriff's office before he retired. "Tell me everything," he said. I did. He went quiet in the way that meant he was mad. "We'll look," he said. "And Ed, don't do anything stupid. Not yet." Stupid would have been giving up. At the end of part 1 only. If this were you, what would you have done? I'm listening. Tell me your city. I imagine your streets when I talk. If this story finds you, like it, so I know you're out there. And if you want more stories like mine, stick around. I've got a lifetime of them. The day after the bank, I tried to make a cut on a piece of walnut and missed my line by a 1/4 inch. That never happens. My hands were steady, my head wasn't. Frank came by with 2 coffees and a notebook full of cop handwriting. "First, we figure out if this was incompetence or intent," he said, sitting at the workbench like it was a briefing table. "Tell me about her money, her job." "She's a branch manager's assistant at a credit union," I said. "Nice house out in Levine. New car. Vacations I didn't pay for, so somebody did." Frank nodded like the facts were pebbles falling into a bucket he knew how to carry. "Phone?" he asked. I don't love snooping, but love without boundaries is a one-way street to resentment. I logged onto Instagram because Melissa insisted I follow her once, before I knew the account would be a mirror I wouldn't like. There she was, champagne flutes at a rooftop bar downtown, a watch on her husband's wrist that cost more than my first truck, a caption that read, "Finally breathing easy," with a heart, posted the same day the bank bled out. In the comments, a friend wrote, "Glad your dad's situation worked out." Melissa replied, "Old folks are so trusting when they think you're helping." I had to put the phone down. There's a kind of hurt that feels like heat, the kind that burns away the part of you that gives people too many chances. "Save it all," Frank said. "Screenshots, dates, everything." That afternoon, he made a call to someone he trusted. By evening, I was sitting in a tidy office on Central Avenue, across from a lawyer whose handshake could steady a boat. "I'm Alicia Barnes," she said. "Frank says you're a man of your word. That helps." I gave her the whole story, from muffins to money, from the SUV to sunrise at Arcadia. She listened without blinking, then laid it out clean. "What you signed was likely a durable power of attorney. In the right hands, it's a tool. In the wrong ones, it's a crowbar. Arizona law gives us avenues: undue influence, lack of informed consent, elder financial exploitation. We'll need evidence. We'll need to move fast to freeze funds. And we'll need you to act like you're going along with her plan while we build a case." "Pretend?" I said. "Pretend," she said. "If she senses a fight, she'll dump money, sell your house, scrub her tracks. We'll also record. Arizona is a one-party consent state. In your home, with you as the consenting party, you can record. We want her on tape stating intent." Alicia slid a small recorder across the desk. It clicked into my pocket like it was born there. "Let her talk," she said. "Ask innocent questions. Make her explain. And Ed, don't try to confront. Not yet. Acting is survival." I left her office and drove home the long way, cutting past the cemetery where Lena's plot looks out on a tree that never remembers to grow. The desert moon was up early, pale as old paper. I found myself apologizing out loud to the empty passenger seat. "I know," I said. "I know I should have read. I know I should have thought longer. But I won't let this be the last sentence." Melissa texted the next morning, "Hey, quick swing by today? Want to show you sunrise brochures?" I typed, "Sure, kiddo. Come by after lunch." I set the recorder under my flannel pocket, ran through Alicia's advice in my head like lines from a play. When Melissa walked in at 2, the house filled with perfume that made me think of hotel lobbies. "Dad!" she chirped, laying out glossy pamphlets like a card dealer. "They have a movie theater and a chef." "Chef? Dad. You'll love it." "How much?" I asked, just curious, voice gentle. "It's not bad," she said, avoiding the number like it was a stain. "I've got it covered. I'll pay everything out of your account. Easier." "You'll handle my bills too?" I asked. "Of course," she said. "It's confusing when you're, getting older." "Will we sell the house?" I asked, looking around at walls that still hold pencil marks where we measured the kids as they grew. "Seems big for me." "Yes," she said, like she was talking about rearranging a closet. "I talked to a realtor. He can get an offer fast. We'll put the proceeds in my account too. Streamlines everything." "And the other place?" I asked, as if I were dumb. "The one you mentioned before, Desert Palms. Is that still an option if Sunrise is full?" Her eyes twitched. "Oh, that was just another brochure." "Okay," I said. "You know best." When she left, I turned the recorder off and sat very still. The house wasn't silent anymore. It was listening. That night, Alicia called. "How'd it go?" She told me she'd keep all the money in her account and sell the house fast. She mentioned another place once and backpedaled. "Good," Alicia said. "Tomorrow my investigator will start pulling threads. We'll file for a temporary restraining order to freeze all accounts. We'll draft a petition to invalidate the POA based on undue influence and lack of understanding. But I need one more thing, Ed." "What's that?" "Patience. You're about to feel like a man with a lit match in a fireworks factory. Don't strike it." I laughed, and for the first time in days it didn't sound like a stranger. I slept in fits, dreams sawed up by the same thought. If I could build a table from nothing, I could build my way out of this. At 9 a.m., Frank introduced me to Alicia's investigator, a quiet woman named Riley Chen, who looked like she could find a needle in a haystack and tell you the factory where the hay was baled. She sat up at my kitchen table with a laptop, a scanner, and a smile that said, "I've done this before. We'll verify debt load, mortgage status, vehicle liens, credit pulls, and any assisted living contracts in your name or hers," Riley said. "We'll also archive social posts and look up realtor activity attached to your address. You do nothing different. Nod, smile. Let her plan your move." Letting myself be planned for felt like walking down a hallway toward a door someone else had chosen. It also felt necessary. At noon, Melissa came back, bright and breezy. I hit record and asked questions the way you cut a board. Measure twice, cut once. "What happens to my shop?" I asked. She barely looked up. "We'll get rid of the heavy stuff," she said. "You don't need it anymore. Sunrise has activities, woodworking class even." "My bank card doesn't work," I said, feigning confusion. "Do I need cash for anything?" "I'll handle all purchases," she said. "If you need something, text me. I'll bring it." "So the money stays?" "With me," she cut in. "Dad, it's simpler. Please stop worrying." "What about Jason?" I asked. "He okay with this?" "Jason's too busy in Seattle to care," she said, flipping a page. "He trusts me. He always has." "She called Desert Palms again yesterday," Riley whispered to Alicia later that afternoon, running through a list of fines like a drum roll. "It's a board and care, crowded, cheap, $1,950 a month." Meanwhile, she toured Sunrise at Arcadia, quoted $5,450 a month to her brother in a text she never sent. Also, 3 recent attempts at personal loans were denied. Their mortgage is in forbearance. 2 credit cards are maxed. She's been emailing a realtor about a fast close on Mr. Walker's property. "And the account transfers?" Alicia asked. "Done the same day the POA was notarized," Riley said. Her husband posted a boomerang of champagne that night. The next morning, Alicia filed for a TRO, temporary restraining order, to freeze any movement of my funds and to keep the house off the market while the POA's validity was challenged. We went to the courthouse on Jefferson. The judge wore exhaustion like a collar but listened carefully. "You're telling me your daughter used a newly signed POA to close his account and transfer funds without notice?" he said, peering over readers. And there's recording indicating intent to control all assets? Alicia nodded. Yes, Your Honor. Freeze it, he said. No sale, no withdrawals, no consolidations. I want both parties notified by end of day. Back in my kitchen, I held the paper like a shield I hadn't realized I needed. Alicia put a hand on my shoulder. We're not done, she said, but you're safer now. We set the stage for the confrontation the way you set clamps on a delicate glue-up, slow, even pressure. Melissa thought move-in day was Saturday at 9. So did I, if you believed my practiced smile. Friday night, I stood alone in the garage, pressing my palm to the workbench pitted with decades of dents, each a little history. I heard Lena again, the way you hear rain starting, even when you're inside. If the day comes when being polite means being erased, don't be polite. I wasn't going to be erased. By dawn, the house felt like it was holding its breath. Frank arrived first, early as old cops always are. Riley followed, her bag bristling with paper. Alicia came last, precise as a level. An officer from the civil division stood by the door to serve the orders, a man with a face that belonged in a Norman Rockwell painting but eyes that had seen everything. Ready? Alicia asked me. As I'll ever be, I said, straightening the collar of a shirt Lena always liked. There are battles you fight in flannel and others you fight in something that says, I mean my words. At 8:58, Melissa texted, Outside, you packed? I stood where she'd see me first, between the living room and the hallway, the axis of our house. It's not a big place, but with 6 people in it, it suddenly felt enormous. She breezed in at 9 exactly, her smile slipping mid-step when she clocked Alicia, the officer, Frank, and Riley. Dad? She asked, like I'd betrayed her. I introduced them, voice steady. Melissa, this is Ms. Barnes, my attorney, Officer Klein, you know Frank, and Ms. Chen. What's going on? She said, hugging her purse like it might run away. She looked smaller somehow, the way guilt subtracts inches. Alicia began, firm but not cruel. Ms. Hart, we're here under court order. Funds transferred from Mr. Walker's account are frozen. Any sale or attempted sale of this property is stayed. We are petitioning to invalidate the POA based on undue influence and lack of informed consent. That's ridiculous, Melissa snapped. He signed. He wanted this. I reached into my pocket and held up the recorder. My thumb hovered over the button, then pressed. Her voice poured into the room, bright and unmistakable. It's simpler if everything stays in my account. You'll sell the house fast. You don't need the shop anymore. Jason trusts me. He always has. I stopped the playback and watched impact ripple across her face. The civil officer handed her the TRO, and the paper made a sound like a small tear in fabric. Sunrise at Arcadia is $5,450, Alicia said, eyes on a printout. But you applied to Desert Palms Board and Care at $119.50. Please explain the discrepancy. Melissa's jaw worked. Finances are complicated. They are, Alicia agreed. That's why the court is redrawing the lines you crossed. I never meant to hurt him, Melissa tried. He's forgetful. My memory's fine, I said. I forgot one thing. The part where I say no to being managed like a lawn. Frank stepped forward, not looming, just present. Melissa, he said softly, like a man reminding a kid about the rules in the pool. It's done. You're not going to jail today. But you're not in charge here anymore. We didn't bring Jason into the house. We'd flown him here last night under Alicia's guidance, told him only what he needed to know until we weren't guessing. He waited outside, hands shoved deep in his jacket. When he walked in and saw the stack of papers, he shot one look at me that asked and answered the same question. You okay? I nodded. Why didn't you call me? He asked his sister, voice flat with hurt. When you moved Dad's money, when you planned to sell the only home we ever had. You're always gone, she said, defensive, thin. I'm not gone, he said. I'm working. That doesn't make me blind. Alicia laid the options out. Either you sign the stipulated reversal and return all funds voluntarily, or we proceed to a hearing where you face potential civil penalties and referral to Adult Protective Services. Mr. Walker's home and accounts will be restored either way. One way is faster. Melissa stared at the pen like it might bite. She signed. Sometimes justice is loud, sometimes it's ink drying. She paused at the door, eyes drier than I expected. Someday you'll see I was trying to help, she said to me, a plea tucked inside a lie she still wanted to believe. Someday, I said, you might see help and control aren't synonyms. When the door closed, the house exhaled. Monday morning, Alicia walked into the bank with me like a storm in a navy suit. The manager who told me the bad news last week shook my hand twice and didn't make eye contact for the first 30 seconds. Mr. Walker, we're so sorry, he said. We've reinstated your account. All funds have been returned. How much? I asked, not because I didn't know, because I needed to hear the number rebuilt out loud. 68,412, plus 3 days interest, he said. It's all here. The receipt felt heavier than paper. Outside, the sun had its claws in the sky, and the blue was so clear you could see where your fear had been. I bought bagels on the way home. I sat at the kitchen table, spread cream cheese, and cried the kind of tears that embarrass no one. Frank pretended not to see. Alicia did see, and didn't look away. Next steps, she said gently. We'll finalize the POA invalidation. You'll draft a basic estate plan with me, with 2 safeguards, a neutral fiduciary for any future powers, and a trigger that requires 2 independent physicians to certify incapacity before any transfer of control. We'll also pursue damages. Not because you want to hurt her, because consequences matter. Do it, I said. I wasn't angry, I was past angry, in a place that felt like maintenance. Fix the leak, patch the roof, stop the rot. Jason flew back to Seattle that afternoon. He hugged me at the curb like he was hanging onto the edge of a cliff. Call me, he said, for everything, even the small stuff. Go live your life, I said. Just answer when I call. The neighborhood knew something had happened by Tuesday. Mrs. Ellison from 2 doors down showed up with a casserole that could feed a football team. People talk, she said, lips pursed. They're saying your girl tried to put you in one of those places, not on my watch. Thank you, I said, meaning more than the food. Wednesday, Melissa's employer called me, careful like a man walking on a dock with rotten planks. Mr. Walker, we can't discuss personnel matters, but we want you to know we take elder exploitation seriously. We've terminated an employee related to your case. I didn't gloat. There's no victory in watching your child lose a job that pays her mortgage. There's only arithmetic, actions, consequences. By Friday, a check arrived. Civil damages negotiated quietly. Far less than a courtroom might swing, but enough to say, we saw what you did. I didn't buy anything special. I opened a 529 college plan for my grandson, Dylan. I funded it with the entire check and named Jason custodian. At dinner, I told Frank what I'd done. He nodded. Good use of a bad chapter, he said. That night, the garage was cooler. I ran my fingers over a length of maple, closed my eyes, and remembered the sound Lena made when she laughed with her whole body. That sound is a kind of inheritance you can't steal or sign away. A week later, the phone rang at dusk, the kind of dusk Phoenix does, where the sky looks bruised gold and the air still remembers noon. I knew it was her before I checked. A father's ear is a tuning fork. Dad, Melissa said. The word arrived chipped at the edges. I lost my job. I know, I said. They called. Long breath. I need help, she said. They're threatening collections. The mortgage. The money is mine, I said, calm, not triumph, not spite, just granite. And the house is mine. Please, she said. I made a mistake, but I was trying to help, I finished. Help would have been a conversation, a budget, a plan with me in it. What you did was control. The line hummed with the old electricity of our worst arguments, the ones where she was 16 and believed every boundary was a dare. I'm your daughter, she said quieter. Doesn't that mean anything? It means more than anything, I said. That's why this hurts the way it does. I closed my eyes. I'm not sending cash. I will pay for 3 sessions with a financial counselor. I will connect you with a nonprofit that helps restructure debt without predatory interest. I will not be your bank. Silence. Then, "Okay," she said, voice small. "Okay." After, I stood in the backyard under a sky that was finally giving up on its heat. Frank's text came in. "Proud of you. Boundaries feel mean to people who benefit when you don't have them. Keep going." The next day, a letter from Adult Protective Services arrived. Polite, clinical, a confirmation that they'd closed their preliminary review because I was safe and supported. I read it twice. I'm not a man who asks for help easily. The words made me feel both old and seen. Alicia stopped by with documents for me to sign. Will, healthcare proxy, a power of attorney that lived in a sealed envelope with 2 signatures and an instruction that felt like relief. This only opens if 2 independent doctors say you're unfit, and even then, the person who takes over isn't family and isn't paid to be your friend. They're bound by law, not blood. "Why not Jason?" I asked. "Because the same love that makes him show up can make him bend rules," Alicia said. "Let him be your son. Let a fiduciary be your fiduciary." I signed. It felt like the opposite of the day I signed in ignorance. It felt like standing in the doorway of a house you finally weatherproofed. Grief is strange. You can be relieved and still mourn what could have been. For a while the house was quiet, but not empty. Quiet like a wound knitting. I settled into small rituals. Morning walks past the citrus trees, afternoon sanding, a weekly burger at the spot on 7th Street where the waitress calls me Han, and means it in a way that feels like civic kindness. Jason called every Sunday. We didn't always talk about Melissa. We talked about Dylan's Little League, about rain in Seattle, about how the world tilts differently when you're the one who has to be the grown-up in your family. One Tuesday, I pulled an old shoebox from the top shelf in the garage. Inside, Polaroids, ticket stubs, Lena's recipe cards, and a folded note Melissa wrote in 8th grade that said, "I'm sorry I lied about cheer tryouts. I was scared you'd say no." We didn't have money for the uniform. She got it anyway. I worked a Saturday in August heat to cover the cost and never told her. I found Lena's handwriting on the back of a photograph of Melissa at Center Court. "Let her have this, Ed. We can do hard things for joy. Joy and theft are not cousins." But the memory softened the edges of my anger until what remained was something tougher, resolved to be right without being cruel. Frank swung by with 2 gas station coffees and the look of a man who wants to say something and isn't sure if he should. "You heard from her?" he asked. "A couple emails," I said. "She went to the counseling. She's working part-time at a diner off McDowell. Says she's cutting expenses." Frank nodded. "She'll test your lines again," he said. "Expect it. Boundaries aren't a fence you build once." That weekend, Dylan's team played a game in Scottsdale. I stood at the chain-link fence with Jason, the sun working on our necks. Dylan fouled off a ball and scowled like a small storm. "Looks like his grandpa," Jason said. "Looks like his dad," I shot back. We laughed, the kind that lets some weight fall off. Between innings, I watched a man in a folding chair rub his wife's shoulder, small circles like a habit. I felt Lena in that gesture. I felt the future I thought I'd have and the one I actually do, separate but both real. On the way home, the sky did that thing where it sets itself on fire. Phoenix can be subtle, but not at sunset. It's a city that tells you you'll make it if you tough it out. I believed it. She came to my door 3 months after the TRO. No makeup, no armor. Just Melissa, the kid who used to fall asleep in the back seat on the way home from anywhere, mouth open, trust complete. "Can I come in?" she asked. I let her. We sat at the kitchen table where so many arguments and apologies had been born. The light through the blinds striped her face. She couldn't hold my gaze. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know I've said it. I'm saying it again. Not because I got caught. Because I finally understand what I did." "How'd you get there?" I asked, not unkind. She pointed at the floor as if the truth were written on the tile. "The counselor didn't go easy on me. She said control is not the same as care. She said if you really want to protect someone, you don't erase them. You stand next to them." I didn't rush to fill the silence. "I took the night shift at the diner," she said. "Sold the SUV. Moved into a smaller place. I called the realtor and told him to take you off any list with my name on it. I reported myself to my professional ethics board. They barred me from working in financial services for now. It was the right decision. Those are starts, I said. Starts aren't the same as finishes. I know, she said quickly. I know I don't get to ask for forgiveness on a timeline. I don't even know if I deserve it. I'm not here for money. I'm here to say I see you. And what I saw scares me. The day I used your love to get you to sign, that's a day I don't ever want to be again. Her hands shook. I remembered those hands holding sparklers, holding report cards, holding a bouquet at her wedding. I remembered them rifling my mail last spring under the guise of helping. Here's what I can do, I said finally. You and I can have coffee every other week. Public place, an hour. No money talk, no house talk. You can send me your budget if you want feedback. Written, not emotional. No access to my accounts. Ever again. If, in a year, you've kept your word, we talk about what forgiveness looks like then. Not now. She nodded like a student taking notes. Thank you, she said, tears spilling. Even for a sliver. Slivers are how the light gets in, I said. The line sounded like Lena, so I let it sit between us like a blessing I hadn't planned. We chose a diner on 16th Street for our first coffee. Linoleum floors, bottomless refills, a waitress who called me sweetheart, and Melissa honey, and made us both feel like we were on parole from something worse. Melissa didn't pitch a single plan. She asked about Dylan's batting stance and whether the Coyotes would ever be good. She told me about bussing tables, about pride, and what it tastes like when you swallow it in public. She said it tasted like salt and metal. I believed her. Between our coffees, I watched people move. Couples splitting pancakes, a man reading the obituaries like a ledger, two teenagers laughing at something on a phone. Life kept happening without our permission or our tragedies. There's freedom in that. At home, I worked on a rocking chair commission for a woman due in November. Rockers take patience. You shape them so they barely skim the floor, so the motion feels inevitable. You take your time because the chair will remember if you rushed. Every other Thursday we met. We were not good at it at first. Melissa overshared budgets she didn't ask me to fix and then bristled when I suggested fewer subscription boxes. I talked about the weather when what I meant was, I don't know how to be your dad and protect myself at the same time. By the 5th coffee, we were learning. At the 6th, she said, I started volunteering at a senior center on Van Buren. I read to a guy named Arthur who can't see anymore. He likes westerns and books about birds. That's good, I said, and I meant it more than it sounded. I broke something I can't put back, she said, eyes on the laminate. But I can start by carrying weight I should have been carrying all along. Not yours, mine. There it was, the structural beam in a sentence. I didn't reach across the table. I didn't make a moment out of it. I just nodded. We had time, finally, because I'd learned how to take it. On the anniversary of the day I signed my life away, the sky looked almost exactly the same. A hard blue, edges bright. Memory works like that. It bookmarks light. Jason flew in with Dylan for the weekend. We grilled in the backyard on a rusted-out Weber that refuses to die. Dylan handed me a card he'd drawn, a stick figure with a hammer and a heart too big for its chest. For college, he said shyly, and I realized Jason had told him about the 529. Thanks, he added, like a man trying on a suit for the first time. Maybe we were all trying on something. Melissa came by with a store-bought pie and humility that didn't look like a costume anymore. She greeted Jason without flinching, hugged Dylan without squeezing too tight. She found me by the lemon tree. I'm not asking for an answer, she said. But I'm asking a question. Is there a version of the future where I earn my way back into being your daughter? You are my daughter, I said. That never changed. Being my family is the part you're working toward. She wiped at her face, laughed once. That's fair. I told her about the documents I'd signed, about the fiduciary who would take over if I couldn't tie my own shoes or my sentences. You won't ever be asked to hold my power again, I said. That's not a punishment. It's mercy for both of us. Thank you, she said. We ate on paper plates. The lemon tree dropped a fruit that rolled to Melissa's foot. She picked it up and smiled at the absurdity. Life hands you a lemon at your feet after it's done throwing bigger things. Later, after the dishes and the goodbyes, I sat in my garage with the radio low, a baseball game tinny and familiar. The rocking chair was done. I set it moving with a fingertip and watched it coast. A good rocker keeps going on the slightest push. That's how you know you got the curves right. I thought about Lena and the curves of a life, where they went wrong and where they fit. If you're still with me, you already know how the story ends. It doesn't. It keeps moving, on the slightest push of forgiveness, on the firm weight of boundaries, on the steady hand of a man who decided not to disappear. There's something I've learned, and I hope you hear it the way I mean it. Your age is not a permission slip for anyone to take your name off your own life. Your kindness is not a loan. Your signature is not surrender. If someone tries to trade your love for control, make it the last deal they ever make with you. And if you ever are the one tempted to help by holding the wheel too tight, loosen your grip. Stand beside, not in front. So tell me this. If you were me, what would you have done? And tell me where you're listening from. Because sometimes, in this house, I imagine the map of this country lighting up with people who've been told they're done and decided to keep building anyway.